Welcome to the Digital Edge, where we sit down with industry leaders to discuss the innovations and ideas shaping the future of marketing. I'm Lisa Morton, Incubeta's Group Marketing Director, and today we're turning our focus to the year ahead, discussing key marketing challenges and what it takes for businesses to outperform and deliver recognized sustainable growth. Joining me today is Jacques, Incubeta's Group CEO, a pioneer in the digital marketing space. Jacques will be discussing his thoughts on how businesses can make the most of their marketing, overcoming industry obstacles to deliver tangible business value. Whether you're a CMO looking to drive your marketing to the next level or a business leader keen to gain a deeper understanding of your growth potential, this episode is packed with valuable insights to help you outperform. So let's dive in. Welcome, Jacques.
That's wonderful to be here. Thanks for hosting me.
So we are already a couple months into 2025 and it seems to be flying. And now the things that we are hearing come through quite a bit are all around growth. It seems to be a word that keeps getting thrown around. But when we think of growth, what should marketers really be focusing on?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, well, firstly, when you said 2025, I had a moment there. We're like, all right, we're a quarter into the new century. And I think that's a
It's
good
not
way
that
to,
far yet.
well, it's a good way to think about, the practice of marketing. And I think you think about growth where we are now, I think this idea of sustainable growth is really important. But, this is not new. This is as old as the practice of marketing. What will give you sustainable competitive growth? I think we've shifted pretty much from almost a mindset of growth at all cost to sustainable growth. But I think it's really about competitive, sustainable growth because I think it's a slight difference. You can be sustainable, but you're not necessarily competitive. You're not necessarily winning. So, how do you win and do it in a sustainable way over the long period of time? So I think also just having a slightly longer time horizon in marketing is increasingly important. Where, as an industry, I think, unfortunately, we're very kind of short-term focused. And it's our jobs, I think, is to think about growth, both in the short term, but also in the long run.
Competitive, sustainable growth. I mean, that is absolutely the dream, isn't it? To be able to achieve that as a business and the thing we all strive for. But what is it that is really the biggest challenges and the biggest hurdles inhibiting marketers from achieving that?
Yeah. And maybe I have an oversimplified view of it, Lisa, but I think if you can prove near-term results, it gives you so much more of a foundation as a leader in your organization to also then make a stronger argument for longer term growth. And I think unfortunately sometimes we just focus on the near term and then don't make the case for the longer term plays. And I think we've gone through a couple of years now of digital transformation. For me, we're digitally transformed already. So it's about marketing in a digitally transformed world. It's no longer about, transforming marketing to be digital. I think if you're not there yet, you've probably missed the boat a little as a marketer and as an organization. And I think if you look at all the high growth companies, whether that's companies whose share prices are growing or those that are independent companies that are standing out, they are very purely driven digital at their core businesses. And I don't think they even describe themselves as digital. They might be more technologically enabled. They might have a more innovative operating model or an interesting, innovative new service or product they bring to market. But I don't think that they term themselves as digital. So we've got to move away from thinking that digital is the longer term bet, right? So I think that's an equal playing field now. So I really think it's getting that balance right of near-term performance, and that's whether that's campaign performance, and longer-term business benefit, which is more kind of business growth. Are you really helping your company build equity? And I think often we just think about equity in the terms of brand equity, but that's while we know that's really important, we need to translate marketing into the language of the business, right? So I think this idea of net marketing contribution being a key aspect of growth is really important for all leaders. So you've got to do that right. Do it in the short term, show all the quick wins, but use that to build for longer term success.
You just spoke a lot about building equity and helping marketers do that. And it's a topic we've been discussing quite a bit within our business. I mean, in our last episode, we talked to Greg DeSantos, who's the CFO in the US, about how marketers can better build those relationships with finance. and really win them over to a lot of the marketing initiatives that we want to do. What are the steps that senior marketing leaders should be taking to have conversations with not just the CFO, but the CEO and really prove the value of their marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think this is something which um, there's a lot of basic things we can do as marketers that'll make a huge difference. I think the first is the work we do, the results of that needs to be translated into language that the rest of the business can understand. So if we constantly show up talking in advertising metrics, in campaign specific metrics, in fact, often in the metrics that matter to the channels and the platforms with whom we trade. We are not selling media or media engagement back into the organization. That's a meaningless set of metrics. So I think having a very clear measurement framework inside your organization that takes all the metrics that are important when you run a campaign, right? Clicks, responses, view throughs, conversion rates, those things are all really important, right? Impressions, likes, those vanity metrics we all joke about. That's fine, right? But really then saying, okay, well, how does that translate back into our business objective? Maybe your business objectives are decreased churn, right, and higher average value order size. So how do you take those metrics and get it back to that? And inside your organization, if it's churn, how are you going to measure churn, and what are the things that you need to enable to do that? What is your definition of churn? Or my other favorite subject is to start talking about like higher, what I would call higher order measurement, things like customer lifetime value. So that's quite interesting because it can become quite philosophical. Firstly, how do you define a customer? Are clients clear about what is a customer? Is a customer somebody who buys once and done? Or is it somebody who buys multiple times? If they buy multiple times, how many times, right? What is the lifetime of a customer? Is it a month? Is it a year? Is it 3 years? Is it longer? And how do you ascribe value to those customers? And it's got to be different for every single client. And often the clients struggle with that themselves, the marketers. But we don't take enough time between the marketing agency and the client defining that, getting to a common measurement framework and bringing these things together that's really meaningful for the company, for its stakeholders, for the finance community, and for the board.
Another challenge that has come up quite a bit has been about doing more with less and the restrictions on budgets that we've seen in the past couple of years. Now, I bring this up because all of this stuff we talk about, being able to report on this metric, costs money and time and energy. How should marketers be looking to tackle this challenge?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, we have to be more efficient and effective at the same time. I'm not sure that all clients' budgets have fallen off a cliff. I think what happens is some of them are maintaining or marginally increasing their budgets, especially if they're in more of a growth company. I think there's definitely still a willingness in companies to invest in their own growth. But I think there's a difference between defining marketing investment and ad spend. And I think even in ad spend, we've got to be careful how we think about it. I think there's still a lot of growth in all digital touch points and channels. But I think for marketers, I think they constantly feel like they have to spread the investment they have over thinner. It's like just like it's butter over a very broad spectrum that they have to spread out. When the past was maybe a lot more simpler. So I think it's more about fragmentation of the customer touch points. I think that's a challenge. And I also think marketers have found, and it's only right, they found new interesting ways to use their own estate and their own properties because they've all become digital. So they can use their own digital platform inside their organization to communicate. So, for example, if you're a if you have your own app, or if you've got your own messaging systems, or you're using AI chatbots, or whatever it might be, you might find very interesting ways to communicate and upsell and cross sell using your own estate, as opposed to spending money on an external channel, right? So I do think there's a lot of innovation in terms of how marketing budget gets allocated. It makes it looks like it's maybe smaller, but I think ad spends are one thing, marketing spends another. But I think the tough thing if you're a CMO today is, our stakeholders, often the rest of our C-suite or the board, well, we all read the same trade dailies, right? Or the trade magazines, or listen to the same podcasts. And the promise of digital now in the world of generative AI and all this compute power that we have means, oh, everything can be done on a shoestring and with a little bit of innovation. And I think that's true. We can do a lot of innovation at a lower cost. But I think to really do it right, you still need to do proper investments, and take both short-term kind of calculated risks, but have those bigger bets that keep working. Because we know that if you under invest in your brand equity goes down, your brand awareness goes down, and if you're not top of mind, your sales start suffering, right? So I think it's a fine balance there. So I think it is constantly tough for marketers to allocate their money in the best way, given all the new channels, all the innovation that keeps happening and coming at them.
Now, you talk a bit about the split on ad spend and how you can how you can do that more effectively and how you should be looking at that. But where do you think people should be really prioritizing their marketing spend?
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, I think to think about the interdisciplinary benefit of using a marketing partner who can work with you across your creative, across your media, across your social, across everything you need to do, because I think there's savings in that. I think often if you take a channel or capability specific lens to it, the trap is you think you might be buying best of breed in something. But I think we're on such a level playing field with data and technology now that it's not about multidisciplinary experts or even a kind of a one-stop shop that brings you these different uh, capabilities under one roof. It's can they bring it together? What is the benefit of organic on paid, and what's on search, and what is the insights on organic and paid search do to think about how you use other performance media like programmatic, and how is what you're doing in digital media impacting other touch points like, let's say, out of home, or how does all of this work with your CRM database or with your e-commerce strategy? And people who grapple with how this all comes together, I think there's so much savings in that, because there isn't all this duplication at the fringes of that effort.
Now, we've talked a bit about how the marketing leader can have a better relationship with the CFO and talk to those business metrics. Is there anything different between that relationship as a CEO with the CEO and the CMO and your marketing team?
Yeah, look, I think in the last couple of years we've seen some amazing collaboration happening. I think the way that the CMO and the chief technology officers come together, not every company is the same, and some it's like a good partnership between the CMO and the CTO because we're using increasingly it's all technology driven, right? Some companies will have like a chief data officer or chief digital officer. I think those cohorts have come together, or at least we see it in a very constructive way. Or the clients where we win the most and where we have the most constructive relationships, it's like a multidisciplinary and a multi-decision making unit on the client side that we work with. But I would say probably the one office that we've kind of ignored lately is the office of the CFO. And I think that's a mistake. And especially when you think about all the modeling we now do, whether it's propensity modeling or um, you know churn modeling, these are things that we should take back to the CFO and their team and work with them in a way where what we work on and those outputs are meaningful to them and that they can represent it as well as the CMO. Because I think through that partnership, I think as marketers, maybe in a kind of a slightly self-serving way, we won't be seen as just a cost center. They'll go, okay, these people are really, really trying to tune the machine here to the benefit of the organization. And so they're not just a cost center. And I think that's easy to happen because when you buy capabilities in single channels, nobody bothers to really work with the client on their business outcomes. All they want is the best for their channel. So if you just go to a pure play media shop, what do they care about? Right? They'll say they're not attracted by billings, but it's about tonnage, right? And I think that whole tonnage game is over. And if you look at the other big cost item that marketers have, their media cost, and then it's their production cost. Right? So production has been under a lot of pressure lately, but that's because it's perceived to be a high ticket item for a marketer. And again, if you just talk to a creative agency or a content or production shop, they're going to try and do the best they can, but it's going to be seen as a cost center. It's the kind of the space in between that's really important. And I think that relationship with the CFO to see it as more than just these high cost items and how they come together to truly drive growth, that's important. And I think the one thing at Incubeta that's incredibly exciting, Lisa, is we're seeing, and we're not known for our creative muscle, right? But we're seeing incredible demand for creative because clients know that we really think about the outcomes and the performance of their work. So, and creative is such a key determinant of campaign success, of marketing profitability, that you kind of have to grapple with that, but you can't grapple with it in isolation.
Yeah. Incubeta's been diving into long-term sustainable growth for its clients quite a bit recently, and INSO has coined the term outperform marketing.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell me a bit about what outperform marketing means?
Yes. So outperform marketing is kind of it's a little bit ambiguous on purpose, right? But outperform ultimately means what we want to do better, right? We know marketing can do better. We know we can do better for our clients. We know that marketing needs to evolve, and in order to outperform, you need to outperform expectations. You need to outperform your competitors, right? You need to outperform the ordinary, right? And I think who doesn't want to surprise and delight their own customers, which is really what we're trying to do at Incubeta. But it goes a bit deeper than that, Lisa. It's about setting a higher standard. So we were just talking about metrics and short term, long term, right? For example, we have for a long time as an industry done things like, and this is not ideal, things like last click wins attribution, right? Really? That's like saying the person in the store that happens to be there when you go in to buy shoes that you've already decided you're going to buy. It's that person that led to you buying that shoe. Meantime, you've seen a whole lot of social media, you've asked your friends about it, you've driven past the store and it's branding many times. It's discounting all those factors that have led to a positive sale event, right? So what I mean is we need to take a slightly more measured approach to really think about how we determine performance. So that's one thing. But I think practically for us and our clients, I think clients also want, if you're so sure of your craft and you're so good at what you do as a marketing agency, why don't you back yourself a little bit more? If you think about the commercial relationships between us and our clients, talked about, how clients just want to buy things on time and material basis, or kind of this like, cost per asset type world on the world of content and creative. Where's the skin in the game? Where's the performance narrative in all of that? Right. So we feel we can do work for clients where we get paid fairly, and we have a right to a profit, and we will do well in that. But we will also work with clients to say, right, what does outperformance really look like? And if we achieve these outcomes, then we should share in that success. So kind of really kind of backing it up, both in the delivery of the work, but also in the commercials that support it, but all in the service of actually doing better for our clients and to do better work. And we're not, Incubator's not just here just to be average. We don't want to just do jobs, right? We want to do kind of career defining, life defining work with our clients. And those are the kind of people we want to work with.
And why is it that you think outperform marketing is a step these people need to take?
I know you're probably going to ask me this question or refer to this quote if it doesn't come up, and everybody in marketing knows it's that part of, we only understand that 50% of our marketing works, so I'll want to make a quote, right? And I think we'd like to challenge that. I think we live in a world of, as we've said before, cloud and unbelievable computing power. We have more data at our disposal at any point in time because of digital transformation, right? And now we have super intelligence in the form of AI, not just generative AI, but just more broadly AI. Then why can't we bring all these things together in a way where marketing can simply do better? That's why I joked when we started this podcast is we're a quarter of a way into a new century, right? But the thinking still feels rooted and stuck in last century's thinking. So we believe outperform marketing is for this century, is for this time, and it's using everything at our disposal to try and, improve the practice of marketing for our customers.
There's one way to make you feel old. It's probably to say you're a quarter of a way through a century. It's really an interesting way to look at it because, marketers are under pressure so so much. There's that recent stat that came out that said CMO's tenure is maximum of like 3 years in the US because there's just so much being added on and so many relationships and partnerships that need to be managed. Do you think AI is a step to helping make their lives easier and more effective? And are we even there yet?
No, I think in terms of how AI gets used more broadly to really drive impact for our clients is still only in the early innings. Though there's a lot of exciting things happening out there. But I think to your point, I think it's not just the CMO that's under pressure. I think as marketers, we like to latch on to that. I think if you think of chief data officers, their tenures may be similar. I don't have real data on it, but my sense is, I think whether you're the CIO, chief data officer, CMO, I think it's no different. I think it points to something broader. I think companies need to constantly prove that they're actually achieving success, which is why we're really pinning our hat on this notion of outperform. If you outperform, I'd like to think our clients can have a longer tenure at the companies that they're at, right? I look at many of our client relationships; they're pretty evergreen, and sometimes they've survived some of the changes of the marketing personnel there. Because if you're really rooted in outcomes for the client, it's hard to argue with that, right? So as long as you keep delivering, and we talk about the way we think now, it's this notion of rapid results, immediately being able to deliver low-hanging fruit results for our clients. You've got to constantly do that. And then think about, okay, how do we now work? Now that we can show that we can do it, how are we more efficient? How do we automate things? So we talk about kind of adaptive automation as the next phase for our clients. And then we really push generative growth. So once you're proving that you can do a good job, showing you're more efficient, now let's make those big bets to be more effective and think more longer range about the investments we need to do. So we really feel strongly that that's our own internal roadmap and methodology for working with clients, and then just working in a very seamless way for them to bring all these capabilities together. And I think that's often where CMOs fall short. They struggle to get the capabilities to come to work together, whether it's their social teams, with their media agencies, with their creative agencies, with their research departments. Really bringing that together in a seamless way really quickly is key. And I think if you do that well, then you can really make those longer term bets and have a longer tenure.
What practical advice do you have for leaders who want to deliver an outperform marketing strategy?
Yeah, I think it's doing the beautiful basics really well. I think we often forget about those things. I kind of joked and referred to measurement frameworks before, and really grappling with the data I think is important. But again, I think just please avoid siloed thinking. Even though a big part of what we do for clients is in the world of media and programmatic media and performance media. And yes, we do now creative to round that out. And we get into some social and content and SEO and creative. All of that's good. But I really think it's about having a very balanced view across the work you do. In the past, you could just focus. Let's take the practice of media and the importance of media. You just look at media, you look at channels, but increasingly, you need to think about the data, the technology, the people, and the measurement, and everything coming together. And you have to do that across every single practice. So I think a very holistic view is really important, because knowing which levers to pull is probably going to be the most important. And if you're working with partners who can only tell you about their lever, if all you've got is a hammer, then everything's going to look like a nail. So I think I would just say to all marketers, really make sure that you surround yourself with partners where you don't just have a whole lot of people holding hammers.
I was going to say that must sound so overwhelming for some marketers trying to get this holistic view. It must sound like a mountain that feels insurmountable. But you're right, getting that right partner will make a huge difference, and making sure you are having those conversations to get that investment you need to be able to open those doors for you.
Yeah.
So, what is it that excites you the most about the shifting role of digital marketing?
Um, well, as I said, I think, and maybe I've been in digital too long, but for me, digital is so mature now, right? So when it's mature, you have to be a little bit more innovative, because for me, it's table stakes, right? Everybody's digital now, frankly, right? So I think that's how you innovate. So I think really what you do with technology, data, and AI is really, really interesting. I think there's some companies doing some very exciting things with AI, but I think there's a lot of people who are going to get burnt and might make some mistakes in the near term. But I think bringing those things together and constantly being restless and innovating with our clients. But I think it's this notion of more co-creation and more collaboration with clients is something that I'm really seeing that I'm getting excited about. We talked about the CFO earlier, one of our largest UK clients, large retailer, who shall remain anonymous because we didn't ask them for their permission to talk about them on this podcast. But one of the preeminent retailers, I love the fact that we meet with their finance team and talk about our campaigns for the year and the plans and that they know what to expect from us and how to measure that. I mean, we had a whole bunch of their senior finance team in our boardroom. You know, how many other agencies have the finance community actually coming and sitting in their boardroom talking to them about the work we're doing with the marketers? I mean, that level of collaboration and co-creation and measurement, that kind of inner togetherness. I mean, that's really exciting. And I think it's almost a disruption of digital and AI that's forced that upon us. And so I love it, just responding with the market and just working in a new, fresh way with our clients. That's super exciting.
It's interesting you say that because we're coming to the end of our interview, but we have two questions that we ask all of our guests. And one of them is, what's your favorite piece of tech?
Oh gosh, Lisa, I think you know me too well. I love health biometrics. So I have a Whoop that I wear religiously. I journal all the time. Um, I know some people find it overwhelming, or people say to me, "Well, you wake up in the morning, you know whether you slept well or you didn't. Why do you need a device to tell you that?" But it goes a little bit deeper than that. I won't bore. That's a whole podcast on its own.
I am very familiar with Whoop,
But I
yes.
but I love health and health related tech as well. I think with AI and everything, that category excites me no end.
And it's only going to get exponentially better what they can report
Absolutely.
on. It's a bit
Absolutely.
scary, actually.
Yeah.
Um, so my last question is, what is your favorite ad campaign of all time?
You know what? I think campaigns are the problem because we talk about campaigns all the time. And I think that's, again, I talk about the previous century's thinking. I think we should stop talking about campaigns. I think we should say which marketers do we think have built the most equity over a period of time. And I'll talk about a couple, and I think they're quite obvious. If you think about a company like Microsoft, who had amazing campaigns when they launched Windows, and I remember when they had Start Me Up from the Rolling Stones. They launched Windows 95, and I was young and impressionable and just in the industry. And I thought, wow, that's amazing, right? But then they went through kind of a phase where people were not that hot on Microsoft anymore. And when Bill Gates left and Steve Ballmer was trying to kind of take them to the next episode, but if you look at where Microsoft is now, and of course it's through good leadership, but there's a company and a brand is constantly innovating and at the edge. And I think so as a marketer and as in a marketing organization, which you wouldn't necessarily think of Microsoft as, there's a company who kind of earns its brand, right? And it earns its trust. That's not about a campaign. That's about doing things well in the short term and in the near term, right? Apple, right? Much storied Apple. Steve Jobs, maybe the ultimate marketer, right? And he did some amazing things. But Apple went through its ups and downs, right? And how they've turned that around. So I'm often more impressed by brands who find a way to grow, and then when all odds are stacked against them and it looks like their day is done, they turn it around again and they kick ahead and they kick ahead. And there's just that consistency of building a brand. Because I want all marketers to know you will get that time. Your brand might be up, but it's not always going to be up. But when it goes down, it doesn't mean it needs to be the demise of the brand, right? So I think I get more excited about looking at companies and brands that really build equity over time than, oh, these people want a campaign. I think that's a very advertising agency thing. Like, we want a campaign, we're going to Cannes, we're going to drink some rosé. Wonderful. I'd like to think more about kind of the impact that marketing has for organizations in a slightly more meaningful way. How to outperform marketing. That's not about a campaign. It's not about awards.
I've thoroughly enjoyed our discussion today. It was great to be able to get your perspective on how marketing leaders can deliver sustainable growth and contribute to business success. For those of you who want to dive deeper into this topic, our latest white paper, The Path to Business Profitability, is available to download and explores the key steps your business needs to take to turn marketing into a profit center and outperform. Be sure to give it a read. And as always, don't forget to follow us on social or visit our website at incubeta.com for more updates and insights. Until next time, I'm Lisa Morton, and this has been The Digital Edge. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.